The UDRcast is not affiliated and does not represent any 12-step fellowship. I, Bill Ward, the host of the UDRcast, will be sharing my experience and my journey of recovery. That does include, but is not limited to, the literature contained in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps. Our guests will be sharing their own path to recovery and what has worked for them. The UDRcast encourages and supports all paths to recovery. Welcome everybody to the UDRcast. UDR stands for Uncover, Discover, and Recover. My name is Bill Ward, and I'm coming to you from the recovery capital of Canada, Calgary, Alberta. Here we are going to discuss everything recovery, different perspectives, different experiences, both with the people I know and with others from around the world. If you resonate with anything you've heard on this episode today, we ask that you share it with anyone who you think may benefit from it. If you have any questions or comments, please find us at BILLWARDLIFE and send us a message in the info section. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you are interested in more recovery content, you can find the buttons for the YouTube channel and other social media outlets on the homepage, and you will be redirected to those platforms. We can recover, one person, one family, one community at a time.
You know, making that decision in step 3 and understanding that step 3 prayer, understanding the build with me and the do with me as thou wilt. Like, that's heavy work, right? That's a full, you know, demolition of my inside structure. It's the full demolition of my ideas, my emotions, and my attitudes that have to be cast aside. That's the psychic change that's going to be sufficient to promote recovery from alcoholism. And I don't mean from the substance, because the substance is only a symptom. So yeah, build with me and do with me as thou wilt. And, you know, in the step 4, there's a line there that really tells the story, right? It talks about character defects representing instincts gone astray. It has been the primary cause of my destructive drinking and my failure at life. And unless I am willing to work hard at the elimination of the worst of these defects, both sobriety and peace of mind will still elude me. If I don't work on the worst of these defects, and the defects are based in the instincts, and they come out through my ideas, my emotions, and my attitudes, and how I interact with exterior life and my interior life. And then it goes on to say that all the faulty foundation of his life will have to be torn out, built upon a new bedrock. So my whole faulty foundation of my life has to be torn out. And my faulty foundation of life is built on self. Selfish self-centeredness that we think is the root of our troubles. This alcoholic addict is driven by 100 forms of fear and self-delusion. That line's very important. And once you understand that this book is the Word, it's not like partially true. When I totally took this book as every fucking part of this book is the way that I'm going to live my life, it took a little while. Took me 18 months to 2 years, but because I could not deny the results of what this book had done at 18 months to 2 years, there was a shift inside of me that said, this book is the fucking bomb. So as I took it literally, every word, every sentence, and how they flowed together into each paragraph and each page, and how they came back and tied every step in all these different loops like a ball of yarn together, I started realizing, okay, this is what I'm doing. And once I took the literature literally, then everything started changing. And understanding that I'm driven by 100 forms of fear. And when I do my inventory, it's fucking plain as day. And I live in self-delusion. And when I understand that my ego wants to say, no, that's such a negative undertone. You don't need to really believe that you live in self-delusion. That's just kind of part of the selling feature of the book. No, it's the fucking truth. And once I understand and I accept that, and I know that I can lie to myself about whatever it is, because I'm incapable of honesty on my own. I will rationalize and justify the most errant bullshit to suit my actions or my inaction. I like to talk about self-integrity. When I lived my prior life before this program, I would make actions in my life and I always had an excuse. Why I acted like that, why I punched this guy out, why I yelled at this guy, why I, was not nice to my wife or my kids or whoever. And I needed a reason. But deep down inside, I knew that that was probably wrong. But because I had to look myself in the mirror and be okay with myself, I had to tell myself a lie so I could look at myself and be okay with myself. Never really understanding anything because I grew up in the world of the material. And the world had taught me a whole bunch of behaviors that actually weren't healthy as a human being. Which is why I suffer a spiritual malady. Because a lot of my ideas and my emotions, my attitudes were never mine to begin with. God gave me the perfect vessel to live my life, which was love in my heart, which is why it says trying to get back to God as we understood him. When did I understand God? When I was a little fucking baby and a little boy. When I just lived with love, when I just lived with innocence. And then I learned everything. I learned how to be defensive. I learned what anger could do. I learned through the pain and the traumas of how to fucking act. And some of these defects actually, like we heard tonight, actually expanded my life. I got a lot of respect out of fucking anger, out of manipulation. I learned how to fucking emotionally and mentally blackmail people to give me love or whatever it was that I needed. But in the end of it, I was still hollow. And I was always searching for something more. Never was there enough of what we thought we wanted, like the book says. So as I understand the step 3 decision, build with me, do with me as thou wilt, relieve me of the bondage of self, take away these difficulties, these defects that actually caused me all my difficulties in my life, so that victory over them. Victory means that there must be a fight somewhere. So that victory over them through this fight, I may bear witness to those I may help with thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. So fighting through these defects is what we're talking about tonight. The step 10 principle is perseverance. Perseverance means to fight through. The step 6 process is actually practically applied through the step 10 process. But understanding what step 6 is fucking very, very important. Because it's the fucking meat and potatoes of what step 3 is. I'm learning what God's will is. I'm with an honest display and willingness to try repeatedly step 6 on all my faults without reservation. That's a fucking high order, man. This is the step that separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls. Most of us are only going to do enough work that gets us by. Takes most of us a long fucking time to have humility is something to be desired. But we don't need to be bludgeoned and beaten into humility all the time. But it's a necessary part of the process, right? And I like to think of it like this. Like in the step 7, it talks about humility. And being this precious thing. Humility is precious. And then one day I'm like, okay. Humility is the most precious fucking thing there is. And it's actually a desire to seek and do God's will. But how do you get to this precious thing? Then I thought about a diamond. Well, a diamond is the most precious stone in the world. And once it's in the showroom floor, it's shaped and it's carved and it shines and fucking it's sought after. People love it. People want it just looking at it. That's the same as what we're fucking achieving here through the 6. For a diamond, you got to go blow up the side of a mountain. You got to excavate half that fucking mountain to get these little pieces of rock that are fucking very scarce, because they're precious. And then to get this diamond to the showroom condition has to go through all of these fucking cycles. And then it's there. And that's the same with humility. I have to go through humiliation. I have to go through the fucking pain. I have to be willing, when things get fucking hard, to really lean into God and trust God that God's going to take me somewhere. But my ego says, no, take the easy road. Take the easy road. But the easy road isn't really the easy road. Because to seek something selfish and self-seeking, these desires, and get something that I think I want right now, it doesn't really benefit me down the road. Because like I've said before, there's more than just me here today. There's me next week, and me next month, and me next year, and me in 10 years. So it seems like I'm going to benefit right now, but I don't really benefit down the road. So by doing what's hard and going this fucking road less traveled, when no one else is traveling that road, it's fucking not easy. To watch fucking 100 people go the other way when you're walking by yourself with God and they're all walking together doing the same shit, it's fucking not easy. But the payoff doesn't come till you fucking keep going. And it's always dark before the dawn, right? It's always darkest before the dawn. And I know from my own experience in living this program how much fucking pain I have suffered. And then it got bright. And then I built more character. And then I get to the other side and I'm like, holy fuck. Right? And like I like what Jason was talking about. Sometimes it doesn't seem like we can go through life and fucking bring God with us because the world acts in a different way. And we got to use force and whatever it is that they're doing to fucking get by. But through the gaining and understanding and effectiveness, because this is not an overnight matter. It must continue for our lifetime. Just like he said, we start learning how to navigate this life with God's love, with love and tolerance. And then it gets easier. And like, you know, I really like the Step 10 tradition. It says AA has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Through the practice of this program and building the character and working with others and building compassion and understanding the directions and literature and taking the literature as the word, not as a theory, and not piecing it together, because that's the long way around to humility. It takes a long fucking calm a long time. It doesn't have to take a long calm a fucking long time. That's been my experience and the experience with the men I've worked with and women. It can take a fast time. So as you listen to that Step 10 tradition, it's Bill Ward has no opinion on outside issues. I understand that all people in this world are emotionally ill, spiritually sick, and frequently wrong. And it is a spiritual axiom that every time I'm disturbed by something you're doing, the problem isn't with you or what's happening, it's within me. So eventually I will have no opinion on outside issues, on what other people are doing. Hence, because of that, I'm not drawn into public controversy. I'm not pulled into your drama because of your trauma. Because I understand that you're on your own journey of healing, and that's okay. And I can navigate that shit. But how do you get there? You get there through the fucking work in the program. You get there through fucking shaping this diamond, through fucking blowing up the side of the mountain, through rebuilding the structure. And it's only done a moment by moment at a time, which is the work. Yeah, work is the inventory, pen to paper. Yeah, work is everything. The work is, fuck, what am I going to do in this moment right here, right now? That's the work. What am I going to do when this chick is fucking hitting on me and I know I can't do that, but it would be such a fucking easy score? What am I going to do when I find a wallet with $500 in it and I need $500? Am I going to turn it in, or am I going to keep it and throw the wallet in the garbage? What am I going to do when there is a group of people gossiping and cutting somebody down? Am I going to jump in and join them? Or am I going to do what Jason did and go the other way and say a prayer and understand they're sick? Because it's really hard. Sometimes you want to fit in. Because if you don't fit in, you feel like an outcast. A lot of us have the self-abandonment, self-worth. But through the continuous, persistent commitment to change and build character and work with spiritual values, we fucking grow, and we grow into authentic self. And we don't no longer need to set the boundaries in our lives out of all the insecurities. We don't need to keep all these people out of our lives with all of these fucking rules because they're breaking these rules. We know the truth of who we are, and we can set the boundary based on our truth with God. Right? And our self-confidence comes from our relationship with God. These men believe in themselves, and they believe more in the power. I believe more in power of God than myself. And I am nothing. Of myself, I am nothing without him, because my self-confidence and self-worth is directly tied to my relationship with my God, my Creator. And when I distance myself, he doesn't go anywhere, I go somewhere. And my defects usually cause me all the pain and discomfort and takes the joy out of my life, and then I got to do the work and get back on the boat. But like, you can only close the gap by continually staying sober and by continuing to come here. The gap only closes with time, right? You can't have 5 years and 2 years, but you can fucking really do a lot of good in your year or 2 years. But the time and learning and understanding, you close the gaps because you don't want to feel the way that you felt, and you want more of the God dope. You want more of the God dope, and then the gaps close, and the gaps close. And there's always going to be gaps. Like Chrissy said, there's always going to be desires that oppose the grace of God. Sometimes I live in step 6. But I have a sincere desire to seek and do God's will most of the time. And it doesn't say that we do God's will perfectly either. We're not saints, and we can't be saints. It says the best possible attitude we can make in the beginning of this lifetime job. It's about being the best at it as you can, raising our eyes to perfection, as Michael said earlier. Not resting on our laurels, and really trying with a will, with God's will, right? When I fail to rely on God, I deprive myself of his help. So, it's a wonderful journey. It's simple, not easy. There's a lot of fucking pain. But through this pain, there's always fucking beautiful shit, right? And like, I've experienced some of that recently. Like, I don't know, man. The shit just gets bigger and better and more emotional and more fucked up in some ways. But at the end of the day, the way I used to live, common sense, has thus become uncommon sense, just like the book says. Living with love, even when it thinks I should live with force. No, live with love, live with kindness, live with patience, live with tolerance. Follow the processes and the dictates of the book that keep the channel clear, that allow God to run the show. And fucking, it just keeps growing and getting better. But you got to stay sober. And through the work, you will stay sober. So, but alcohol's a subtle foe, and it ain't alcohol. It's fucking this shit. It's the thinking. So we got to stay on the track, man. Stay on the track. So
thank you for tuning in to the UDRcast. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. The viewpoints and the opinions expressed today were solely of the individual sharing them. If you resonated with this episode, please follow us and share this link with anyone that may benefit from it. Please visit us at BILLWARDLIFE to see everything that we have going on. We can recover, one person, one family, one community at a time.